So how many of you wish you were one of those people who always knew what they wanted, who found their one true passion in life, and who followed a single path with certainty and clarity? Maybe you've been feeling like there's something wrong with you because you haven't been able to find that one passion in your life. You haven't been able to find that one thing that drives you. So if you're nodding along in agreement, I want you now to imagine this: doing just one thing, and one thing only, for the rest of your life. Day in, day out, the same thing, forever. I don't know about you, but that sounds like pure torture to me. Whether it's a job that I have to stick with, a hobby I'm forced to focus on, or a project I have to complete long after my passion has fizzled out, I'd go absolutely stir crazy. But here's the thing. This doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. In fact, if you felt this inner conflict, wishing you could be like others, following a single path, while also knowing that deep down it wouldn't make you happy, you're not alone. And you're not broken. For years, you've probably been trying to fit yourself into a box that just wasn't made for you. Trying to give up your curiosity, your love for variety, and force yourself to stick to just one thing. But what if I told you that you don't need to fight anymore? That you could relax and lean into what feels natural to you? I'm talking about being a multi-passionate person. So what exactly does that mean? A multi-passionate person is someone who doesn't fit into that specialist mold. We're the ones with a wide variety of interests, skills, and talents. We're driven by curiosity, fueled by different motives, and we crave variety in our lives. We often struggle to commit to a single pursuit because honestly, why would we want to? There's just too much out there to explore. Now, we go by many different names: polymath, multipotentialite, jack of all trades, renaissance person, generalist, scanner. I recently had someone mention all-rounder. I love that. But my personal favorite is multi-passionate. If this is starting to resonate with you, if you're thinking, wait, that sounds like me, then keep watching, because today I'm sharing 5 key signs that you might just be a multi-passionate person. Alright, sign number 1. When you were younger, the question of what do you want to be when you grow up was always tough. Either it filled you with dread because you just simply didn't know, you didn't have any answer to give, or you were excited because you had many different answers. But then people would tell you, well, eventually you have to choose one thing, right? How can we pick one thing when we want to do many things? Or everything? This is definitely one of the biggest struggles for multi-passionates. Choosing a single path, especially a career path, feels impossible. Society has implied that we need to decide on one thing to dedicate our lives to, whether that's a major, a career, a life path. But for multi-passionates like us, it's just not that simple. The author of the book Refuse to Choose explains this beautifully. Scanners, or multi-passionates, don't want to specialize in any one of the fields that they are passionate about because they fear that it means giving up all the rest. In fact, some even see becoming an expert as limiting or boring because it narrows the scope of what they get to explore. If you've ever read The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath, there's this incredible scene where the protagonist, Esther Greenwood, she imagines her life branching out before her in the form of a fig tree. I saw my life branching out before me, like the green fig tree in the story. From the tip of every branch, like a fat purple fig, a wonderful future beckoned and winked. One fig was a husband and a happy home and children, and another fig was a famous poet, and another fig was a brilliant professor, and another fig was E.G., the amazing editor. And beyond and above these figs were many more figs I couldn't quite make out. And as I sat there, unable to decide, the figs began to wrinkle and go black. I saw myself sitting in the crotch of this fig tree, starving to death just because I couldn't make up my mind which of the figs I would choose. I wanted each and every one of them, but choosing one meant losing all the rest. And, one by one, they plopped to the ground at my feet. And I know, the book and that scene has a much larger commentary on women's struggles during that time, and of course the deep descent into depression, but I feel like it can also be relatable with the anxiety that multi-passionates feel about having to narrow down their futures and fit into a box that wasn't made for them. But let's reframe this. It's not that you're indecisive, it's that you're multi-talented and you don't want to leave anything behind. And guess what? That doesn't have to be a flaw of yours, okay? It's just a part of your personality, and hopefully you can turn it into a strength. Because the problem isn't with us, it's with society. Now, historically, there were times when generalists, polymaths, and Renaissance thinkers were celebrated. But then came the rise of the Industrial Revolution, and society shifted its focus on specialization. And now, if you don't fit neatly into that specialist box, it can feel like there's something wrong with you. The book How to Be Everything is a really great resource for those that are trying to find a career path, and I made a whole video about it that goes deep into what the book is actually about and all the advice that it gives, so check that out if you're interested. Anyways, if you have ever felt paralyzed by the idea of choosing one path, or if you've struggled to explain to others why you simply cannot pick one thing, you are not alone. You're just wired differently, and that's a beautiful thing. Let's move on to the next one. If you are the kind of person whose mind is constantly bouncing, new ideas are always sprouting up in your mind, your browser in your computer or your phone has like 50 different tabs open, all about totally random and different topics. Your friends often find you talking about astronomy one day, and then the next you're bragging about your newest crochet piece. And by the end of the week, you're telling them that you've started learning a new language. If that sounds like you might just be a multi-passionate person. This is one of the most defining traits of multi-passionate people, an endless list of interests. You're not just curious, you're intensely curious about everything. As Barbara Sher points out in her book Refuse to Choose, this insatiable curiosity is one of the most basic characteristics of multi-passionates. You're the kind of person who's constantly exploring something new. It could be learning a new skill, picking up a new hobby, or just diving headfirst into researching a random topic. Now, the implication that we get in a world of specialists is if you're passionate about something, you must be an expert at it. You don't have to be an expert at it, but it doesn't mean you have to be bad at it either. Being multi-passionate doesn't mean that you're unfocused or incapable of depth. You're free to dive deep into certain interests, skim the surface of others, specialize in what you want or don't want. The point is, being multi-passionate means you have a unique ability to synthesize knowledge from different fields and offer perspectives that specialists might not even consider. That is a superpower. That is something that we should be taking advantage of, not trying to suppress. So here's a fun exercise. Write down everything that you're interested in. Make that list or lists, however you want to do it. If it's long, sprawling, and makes you feel excited just looking at it, you might just be a multi-passionate. But here's the big problem that we have. When we do have free time, we feel paralyzed by the sheer amount of things that we want to do. And much of the time, instead of choosing something, we just end up distracting ourselves with something easy. This is such a common struggle for multi-passionates, but it's not about a lack of passion or commitment. It's usually just a time management issue. And I have a video that's all about productivity advice for multi-passionates specifically that helps you to manage all the things that you want to do and actually get started on them. So check that out if you need some advice. That being said, you're not broken in any way. You're not failing at life because you have too many interests. The moment that you stop fighting against your nature and start embracing who you are, the happier you will be. You just have to realize you weren't built to pursue a single pursuit, to specialize in one thing, or fit into society's narrow definition of success. You were built to explore, to be curious, and to bounce from pursuit to pursuit as your heart desires. That's what's gonna make you happy. So if you're sitting in that fig tree, frozen by the fear of choosing the wrong path, let me just tell you, you can eat as many figs as you want. Or will always grow. And remember that being a specialist isn't the only way to contribute to society. As a multi-passionate, your unique ability to connect ideas, bridge disciplines, and see the bigger picture is very valuable. Specialists dig deep, it's true, but multi-passionates see wide, and both are equally important. So does this sound familiar? You start a new project with boundless enthusiasm. You're crocheting a sweater, you're writing a novel, or maybe you've started to redecorate your entire room. But halfway through, the spark begins to fizzle out, and you find yourself eyeing your next big idea instead of finishing that last one. If that sounds like you might just be a multi-passionate person. One of the hallmarks of this personality type is this: you're amazing at starting things and getting new ideas. The thrill of diving into something new is intoxicating, whether it's a hobby, a project, learning a new skill, and you're driven by a certain motivation, be it curiosity, the desire to learn more about the world, the need to be helpful to others, or just the sheer joy of discovering something new and novelty to you. But then your perspective on a pursuit often shifts. What excites you in the beginning may not hold the same pull towards the end, and that's perfectly okay. I can't even count how many times I've started a hobby with all the excitement in the world. I'll invest in the equipment. I'll set up a space dedicated for this. And then maybe like the first few days, I'm spending all of the free time doing it and I'm thinking about it constantly. And then that sweater that I was making is left unfinished on my coffee table. The painting is half done. The paints are collecting dust. If you're like me, you probably have a stash of half-completed projects. And it's not that we're lazy or unmotivated. It's because we're fueled by that initial spark of excitement, and once we've satisfied that curiosity or fulfilled whatever drive we had that made us start the project, we're ready for the next adventure. Now again, this is not a flaw in any way. I know it's tough and it's hard to work around, but there is a positive side to it. Refuse to Choose describes this perfectly. Starting projects with a rush of enthusiasm but soon losing interest doesn't mean you haven't finished what you started. You have. It just doesn't look that way to others because they have their own definitions of what finished or completed means, and you have your own. The dominant narrative in our society says you have to see things through to the end to be successful. But truthfully, especially as a multi-passionate, you don't have to finish everything. You don't have to become an expert in everything to find value in it. You're a natural explorer driven by curiosity and discovery, not necessarily completion. And again, I made a video all about the different motivations that us multi-passionates have for pursuing different things. And I think having an understanding of where your motives, what is driving you, where your motives are coming from is really helpful. Understanding why you're pursuing something helps you decide how much time and effort you want to dedicate to it, and when it's okay to move on. And one big issue, of course, is going to be all those unused supplies that you have. If you do have all these supplies, you can always sell them or trade them. And if you're starting a new hobby, maybe instead of buying the equipment right away, borrow it or join a club that allows you to rent certain things. I'm really into painting, and I have that impulse to buy a bunch of canvases, to buy a bunch of paint and brushes, but I realized instead I could just join a one-day class. I don't need to have everything at my house. The point is that every pursuit that you've started gave you something, even if it wasn't completion or specialization. Maybe it was just improving a skill, gaining a fresh perspective, or just even enjoying the process of learning. So here's what I want you to take away from this. The dominant narrative might label us as flaky or unproductive, but that's just one perspective. Your approach to life, exploring different paths, and discovering what excites you, isn't just valid, it's necessary for your happiness and well-being. Multi-passionates aren't wired for monotony, and embracing that truth is where your power lies. Routine and repetition. Upon hearing these words, what do you feel? If it is intense resistance, you might just be a multi-passionate person. That is because we thrive on variety. It's not that we can't focus on one thing. We just prefer to have a range of activities to keep our minds engaged and our energy high. Multi-passionates love to have many different things going on at once. We like to juggle interests, projects, hobbies, alongside whatever career path we are stuck in. We're the kind of people who might spend the morning fixing something, the afternoon designing a project, and the evening planning a dinner party. Because why not do it all? Now, a rigid 9-to-5 schedule where you're stuck doing the same kind of work all day might feel stifling and actually leave you feeling drained. But a day where you can alternate doing different tasks, like working on a project in the morning, studying something new during lunch, going out and learning a new skill in the evening. This rotation and this variety can leave you feeling fulfilled and energized. For me, I found that I'm my happiest when I give myself this variety. I love to have different style routines for every single day. And even the job situation that I have now, every weekday that I work, I have a different schedule. I go to a different place. I do different things. And then in my free time, I'm always trying to spend it in a different way. And this has helped me so much that I never feel stuck or bored. Craving variety isn't a weakness at all. Multi-passionates have an incredible ability to balance their interests. So if you're looking for a few ways to lean into your love of variety, try out some of these. Number one, rotate your projects. If you're working on multiple hobbies, projects, passions, don't feel pressured to focus on just one. Spend a few days maybe focused on one, or just one day, or even just a morning, then switch to another when you feel like it. 2, try creating dynamic routines or schedules like I do. Instead of having the same routine every day, build variety into your week. Set aside specific days or times for more creative work or for physical activities. Number 3, plan little adventures. Give yourself something to look forward to. It can be as simple as trying a new cafe, exploring a park, or you can sign up to learn a new skill online, sign up for those one-day classes, hobby clubs, whatever it is. Check out festivals or events in your area and plan to go to one. These small experiences can make your day feel more exciting and, like I said, gives you something to look forward to. Because when you embrace variety and you let your day flow naturally between different activities, you'll find that daily life feels a lot more fulfilling and fun. And the last sign is you feel like there just simply isn't enough time in the world. There's not enough hours in the day to do all of the things that you love. You feel like you're being pulled in different directions, and yet none of them feel like the right one that society tells you should have. This feeling of being constantly pulled in different directions is an important part of being a multi-passionate person. You've got so many interests, projects, hobbies, new ideas swirling around in your head, and it can be very overwhelming. In Refuse to Choose, this is called the scanner panic. It's described as a frantic sense of needing to do everything all at once because you forgot that tomorrow exists. Your sense of time becomes so compressed that every passion feels urgent. Like if you don't tackle it now, you'll lose your chance forever. And on top of that, the internet and social media certainly aren't helping. You're constantly bombarded with new ideas and new inspiration. You're distracted by content, and you're comparing yourself to others who seem to have it all figured out. And yes, you watching this video right now, if you're just discovering you're a multi-passionate person and you're looking to me for advice, I have something to tell you. I don't have it all figured out either. I am still learning too. I think we're all learning and growing and progressing at our own paces in our own ways, and that's okay. For me, balancing my multi-passionate nature along with the different work responsibilities I have, the family responsibilities I have, it does feel impossible sometimes, I'm not gonna lie. I'd come up with new ideas or rediscover old ones that I felt like I needed to start right away. What really helped me a lot and is helping me was keeping a dedicated diary just for my multi-passionate self. It became my safe space to organize my thoughts, write down new ideas, and make plans or goals for my interests. If I wasn't ready to act on something, I'd tuck it away for later. I also started keeping a log of everything that I've accomplished, no matter how small, to remind myself that I am making progress and doing what I love. And remember, you don't need to do everything right now. Take a breath. Step back and think about what's most important to you at this moment. In How to Be Everything, the author outlines 3 key considerations for multi-passionates who are trying to determine their life path: money, meaning, and variety. Finding the right balance of these factors can help you design a life that works for you specifically. I also have a video that's all about starting the new year in a multi-passionate way. And of course, this can be used at any time of the year. Get started tomorrow. That's the best advice. It's packed with tips and advice on how to structure your life so you can explore all the things you want to without feeling overwhelmed. Being pulled in multiple directions doesn't mean you're failing, doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. It means you're curious, you're passionate, and you're capable of so much. It's all about finding your rhythm. You've made it to the end. So what's the verdict? Are you a multi-passionate person? Remember, being multi-passionate is not a diagnosis. It's just a personality type. It's a way of thinking and feeling and functioning. So if not all of these signs apply to you, you could still be a multi-passionate person if you consider yourself so. And one of my biggest resistances to calling myself multi-passionate was always comparing myself to famous multi-passionates, famous polymaths, thinking that because I wasn't successful in multiple different fields, because I wasn't researching new things every day and contributing to art in a significant way, that meant I'm just a flighty person, not actually multi-passionate. But you can be a quiet multi-passionate person, and that's what I think of myself as. I love many different things. I'm interested in many different things. I don't care about being successful in any one of them or being a famous Renaissance person, of modern Renaissance person. That doesn't matter to me. I just want to enjoy what I love and not feel like there's something wrong with me. Being a multi-passionate person isn't a weakness. It can be a unique strength. You're not someone who fits neatly into one box, and that's something to celebrate. And now I want to hear from you. Which sign resonated with you the most? What are you doing right now in your life? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this video helpful, please give it a like, share it, and subscribe if you're interested in seeing more content about being multi-passionate. Thank you so much for making it to the end, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!